From the Shooting from the Lip studio in Louisville, Kentucky, it's the KT Unearthly Show with your hosts, Kevin Hale and Tiffany Mac.
What is up? Kevin Hale in the Shooting from the Lip studio tonight, live from Louisville, Kentucky. Doing it on this Friday night, June 10th, 2016, with my partner in crime, the lovely Tiffany Mac. Tiffany, what is up with you?
Not much, as usual. Sometimes I get stumped because I'm just like brain dead after putting my kids to bed, trying to relax and gather myself before a show. And so I'm really excited about this one, but I have to take a deep breath and just chill for a little bit. So I'm excited, but I guess ready to roll. Yeah, ready to roll.
Yeah, take a deep breath. Let me go through some spills before we get the party started. We are the KT Unearthly Show, Kevin Hale and Tiffany Mac, doing it on Shooting from the Lip. You can find our show via the Stitcher app. You can subscribe to our show on YouTube and iTunes, Twitter at The Shooting Lip. Tiffany's at Tiffany Mac _ET. Mine is at Kevin Hale 423. You can also like us, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Coming to you live tonight via Blog Talk Radio. Now, Tiffany, before we get into the show tonight, I want to touch on something that the city was heavily involved with today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the longest time, my thought process has been, it's not bragging if it's true.
Mm-hmm.
You're not being vain if you're indeed pretty. Right? Pretty, Tiffany? You don't...
Whatever.
You don't float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
Sting like a bee.
If butterflies and bees go somewhere else to float and sting, because they don't want no part of you. You could say you're the greatest, if indeed you are the greatest. And today, Louisville's favorite son, Muhammad Ali, was laid to rest in what turned out to be an incredible celebration of one of the most beloved people to ever walk this planet. Now, I'll add the way the city showed up today to watch the motorcade, to attend the memorial/celebration at the Yum Center. It was incredible. It blew me away. We had celebrities there, former boxing champs, media people, and friends who shared thoughts and stories of the champ. It was an incredible day, incredible event for our city. And a shout out to our city for responding the right way. Now, with that said, watching the media coverage today, fortunately I work from home, and I had the TV on all day, and the celebration was going on in the background. I was reminded of one of Muhammad Ali's nicknames, and it reminded me that it's one of my favorite nicknames, and that is the Louisville Lip, because he could talk. He could talk to smack. He was talking smack before it was pretty much smack. He had swagger before swagger was a word. And
he's the originator, man. He's the original.
Exactly. So with that said, tonight and tonight only, Tiffany, our show will be known as Shooting from the Louisville Lip. That's paying homage to one of the greatest people, period. But Tiffany, you've got some history with Muhammad Ali. Share your story.
I do, actually. It just so happens that his mother and my grandmother lived on the same street. So growing up, we would see them occasionally walking the streets together and just, celebrating the afternoon or whatever. But he actually stopped us one day. We had a really special interaction. I was around 8 years old, and he stopped us, and he just stared at me, and he said, you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. And, that's pretty typical of people who see, cute kids. You're like, oh, how pretty, or how cute they are. Oh, you're such a cute child. Well, with him, it was different because he was totally mesmerized with my eyes, and he would say it, and he said it, and he really didn't even pay attention to, my mom or anybody else. And it was strange because I really do feel like there was a connection between us. And I say that lovingly with regards to what we're going to discuss this evening. He was I don't know if I want to say contactee, but Muhammad Ali had seen over 20 UFOs and had really reflected on them, and actually had painted different scenes of UFOs and visitors and things like that. Well, I actually have been thinking, what if there is some type of connection that is unseen but felt between contactees? What if we recognize each other in some way? And I do feel like people have commented on my eyes a lot, and many of them are other contactees, and they say, I've heard mentioned that, I can tell by your eyes. There's something in them that is different. It's alluring. It's mesmerizing. And so it does make me wonder if there is something, because there have been a few other contactees that I've met, and no matter what that contact entailed, there is some kind of connection that you feel deep in your soul to these other people. And it just makes me think back to that day. And, my mom was there, and she was just shocked because of how, enthralled he was with me. And I was, of course, only 8 years old. But it was he's an incredible man, and he has created a lot of good things for our community and communities around the world. So right. It was a very sad day, but also joyous, and it brought the world together. So yeah, it's a good Friday.
Yeah, very good. A quick shout out to one of our favorite listeners, Queen Colleen. So, yeah. But, yeah, I have to, not to be Debbie Downer here, for every 100 people who went on social media and had good things to say about today, about Muhammad Ali, whatever, there's one in every crowd that have to chime in with something that always, it just reminds me that, if there's any way to find negative, somebody's going to find it. When it comes to, social media, that it's as much as we kind of rely on it for the show to promote, I despise it quite a bit, because there's a lot of people out there that, are so flippin' tough when they're behind the keyboard or on their smartphone, and they can just shoot their mouth. And, and there was certain demographic today that I just somehow kept seeing on social media. This demographic are the ones probably listening to Rush Limbaugh in their trucks on their lunch breaks, but had to bring up Ali's history with the, Vietnam War, and, and all. I was like, dudes, have a Coke and a smile and think about the big picture, and, what,
the amazing things he actually did beyond that.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. So, all right, that's I'm off the soapbox there, but let's get our party started tonight. Share with us who our guests are and what they're all about too.
All right. Well, tonight we have a special show. We have two guests this evening, and they are actually just a really interesting couple. Our first guest is Kosta Makreas, and his family is from Crete. And this is sort of a nice little connection for me because, as you know, I worked for the Department of Defense, and I worked on a NATO base and a naval base on Crete. So whenever I meet people who are from the island or from Greece, I do reach out and, I want to hug them. I want to kiss them twice, and I want to kiss them again, and then I want to drink raki with them and just have a good time. And so Kosta is the founder of a group called ETLet'sTalk.com. So it's the People's Disclosure Movement and the Global CE5 Initiative. He's an author, an activist, an international networker, and online community leader who is actively promoting peaceful contact between humans and extraterrestrial civilizations, which are visiting our planet at this time. And they probably have been visiting for quite a while, I might add. This group is actually something that I've become involved with, and I've mentioned it many times on our show. And different shows in the past. So his passion and mission has involved leading and growing the ET Let's Talk community, which has over 11,000 members in over 100 countries. So it's like a really nice base, and it's developing and spreading, and that's part of what I appreciate about this group, is that they're very loving, and they do want to have that human-initiated contact with these ETs and loving spiritual beings. So the goal is for humans to co-create with our ET friends a positive planetary transformation, a golden age on Earth of free energy, planetary peace, abundance, environmental sanity, and justice for all. And that was taken from his biography, which I loved. So our second guest, might as well just tell you about Miss Hollis Polk, who is his wife, and she is absolutely as lovely as she is intelligent. She's a remarkable woman with amazing talents. Not only is she clairvoyant and clairaudient, she is a healer trained by the School of Expanded Perceptions, and also a gifted hypnotherapist. But what really grabs my attention is that this woman she's not your typical psychic. She is a truly intelligent and determined woman who has a bachelor's degree in engineering from Princeton and an MBA from Harvard. She and her husband, Kosta, make a very interesting and astounding, what I call, power couple. So welcome to the show, Hollis and Kosta.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be half of that power couple.
I know. How are you doing this evening, Hollis?
It's the first time I've ever heard us described that way.
Well,
we're just normal people. Well, not so normal, but whatever.
Well, yeah, normal is a relative term these days.
Yes, exactly.
So tell us, let's discuss first of all the ET Let's Talk community. What gave you the idea to initiate this type of group, Kosta?
There's a long story with context in it, but I'll start in the recent past, where I had, like many people in the community, I had an up-close and personal experience with a starcraft that changed my life. And I hear that kind of story from members in the community all the time, some kind of personal contact that was very real, authentic for them, and not someone else's secondhand experience, as true as that might have been, or as much as they may believe them. But it was their own. And once you've had that, I don't think you ever go away the same. Either you become changed and climb back into yourself and maybe deny it, or you just burst forth and explore and want more. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm the latter. In 2006, I had a life-changing experience like that, and I can talk more in detail about what went on there. But for the moment, as I'm just kind of summarizing in order to answer your question in a small time frame, like within our lifetimes,
well, we have 2 hours, so you can be as wordy as you like, because that's what we're looking for, is just this education that you are willing to provide us.
Oh, Hollis is laughing in the background. Yeah, she knows me as the husband who is very brief with words and short on syllables and ideas. No, not. But no,
I was going to say.
Today we were driving someplace, doesn't matter where, listening to our local news radio that I had turned on, and they were doing some kind of on-the-air giveaway quiz, and one of the questions was something about what does the number 20,000 stand for, and the answer was, it's the number of words a normal woman speaks in a day, and a normal man speaks 13,000. I think it's reversed in our case.
No, actually, I think they said 3,000 because I remember it was like a seventh. Yeah, and it was astounding.
It was a lot less.
It was a whole lot less. So anyway, that
I was going to say, yeah.
You know, but hey, I will tell you the key words to get Hollis going on a JAG tonight and talking, so that we can make this a real fun and entertaining competition of words. Actually, cooperation. But back to my story. As a result of that experience, like I said, I'll describe it a little bit later. I realized that there were a lot more people in the world that maybe had experienced something like that, and because I'm kind of a natural networker anyway, I have a Greek background on both sides. I like a party, I like community, I like to talk, and so the idea came up: why not join using the internet, which is available to all of us? Join people from all over the world who would care to do so into a community and talk about our experiences and promote it and create even more groups around the world. And of course, I had the full-on support of Hollis, who came up with the name ET Let's Talk, which I instantly loved because it just carried the right tone of, hey, let's sit down and have a chat. You're not gods. You're not something to be feared. You're, as they've told us actually telepathically, they want to be looked at as elder brothers, sisters, and cousins who've gone along the path a little bit further than us, managed not to destroy their civilizations, and they're coming back here to give the benefits of their wisdom and to share it in as much of a equal fashion as possible. So that's why I liked ET Let's Talk. It had that friendly, informal sound that immediately told you what we're about. ET Let's Talk. There's not too many ways you can finesse that any other way. Mm-hmm. So thanks to Hollis for that, and it's been a wonderful journey in the last. This is 2016, so I think we're talking about 10 years now since I had that experience. It's been a great journey. Growing the community, meeting people from all over the world, hearing their stories, and getting their photographs, their videos of up-close personal encounters, some of them high in the sky, some of them low flyovers of craft, of their houses, some rarer but encounters with actual beings on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole continuum. It's all over the map, but I thought that this community was the right thing to do because more and more people have become open to the idea. I've seen that over my lifetime, from the 60s when I was a teenager until now. There's been a tremendous growth in interest in this area, albeit Hollywood has injected their measure of fear doing that during that time. But what we're trying to do is look at the positive part of that, because we do know that there are benevolent civilizations that are here from many different places, and many of us have encountered them. And what I really wanted to do above all was to teach people ET contact protocols that allowed everyday people to make their own contact. And all you needed basically was not $20 million and lots of arrays of antennas to send out signals into space, but really a lawn chair, a safe place to sit, a group of friends maybe, a quiet place to sit, meditate, connect with each other, open your hearts, and visualize that connection and offer it to the ETs who, in their own spiritual development, are able to connect with us and to recognize us when we raise our vibrations like that in love and in open communication. And then the good stuff happens. So that, in a nutshell, is what I wanted to do, is allow thousands, millions of people along the line sometime in the future to make their own contact, because it's easy and it produces results, sometimes the first time, sometimes after a few times, but people get excited and then they invite their friends, their family, their neighbors. And not everybody who believes this stuff, but like I said, it's changed enough that people are coming to our door now, and that's what the ET Let's Talk community is about. we're welcoming free members all the time to come in and learn the protocols and join our monthly meditations and then report back what they found. And I'll do my commercial for ET Let's Talk later on, but but on a personal basis, this is my contribution really to doing something good for our Mother Earth, for Gaia, and for our civilization, because I think these other cosmic civilizations are here because they see us on the precipice of just like screwing this all up and destroying it, but I think they also see the promise in the human spirit that can overcome, the hate, the greed, and the separation that has unfortunately characterized too much of our history. But I believe they see the good part, and they're willing to work with it, and they're concerned. And I will go on later in more detail about how they're here to help. But for right now, what I tell my people every month during our coordinated Global CE5 Initiative meditations worldwide, I invite people in our community to virtually join with each other and visualize ourselves as the vanguard of humanity who will someday reach the stars and communicate with ETs in fuller numbers than what we are now. But someone has to be in the front, and we and other groups also have done that. But I encourage people to visualize us as this one organism of humans inviting these different ET civilizations who are eager and joyful to connect with us. And what they really want is for us to visualize with them, co-create a new golden age for Gaia, a new golden age for Earth. And that's what I want to leave as my personal legacy. And I think a lot of other people want to leave that too, which is why they're attracted to the work here. It's very much a heart-centered work in conjunction with using our minds in an intelligent, open way to make contact, to do something that's never been done on this scale before, and see what kind of positive future we can create rather than just letting this ship rock on its own in the waters and sink without doing anything about it. And so when we're offering something for people to do in a group and to contact DT and work on this problem together, not looking at them as gods, but as, like I said, elder brothers and sisters and cousins who can lend their particular kind of help, but at the same time, while they're expecting us to get our act together, right, and do what we can do to fix some of our problems, because, we are capable of that too. So it's a partnership, and that's ET Let's Talk in a nutshell.
Now, it sounds to me like we may be the disobedient children, and the broader sense of the community. What would be a way to, is this the only way that we can progress? Do you think that bringing everybody together in this attempt to do better for Earth, do you think that's the only way that we're going to be able to do this, is just to envelop everybody into a community like this with the goals of love and partnership?
Absolutely, with the goals of love and partnership. I don't care what kind of groups are out there doing that. Certainly not everybody is into ET or wanting to communicate. I'm not expecting, that 7 billion people are going to want to do this, but those that do will know that at etletstalk.com we have a path for them to join in this kind of loving approach and a loving solution to problems. But in general, I will say, because we're at this time of transition right now from a materialistic age of fear, greed, and separation to a golden age that we can have if we want it, of inclusiveness, of love, of goodwill, right human relations, no matter what group you're involved in, and I think there's lots of groups in a lot of spheres of living, not just in ET Contact, who are putting the principles of love and inclusion into practice in their own worlds. Like I say, you don't have to be about ET to do that, but if you're a community group who's bettering your neighborhood, or maybe a politician who's running for president trying to bring people together, won't name any names, but it's Bernie Sanders, you're doing a lot of good to show people a vision of what can be when you include and use love and acceptance rather than fear, division, and separation. So, yeah, the key is love and goodwill moving in the future, because, look, What has fear and greed and money and corporate power and wars brought us? We're on the brink of extinction. You realize that if certain people get into government and decide to push a button, it could be all over in 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. Now, the ETs are not going to let that happen, and I can talk more about that later, but I'm just making an example there of how close to the precipice we are, and we have a choice now to choose between love and fear. Fear hasn't worked. It brought us to the precipice. Let's let love create wings for us, collectively and individually, so we can fly. And that's what we're all about. And I honor any groups in any realm who are working with love and inclusiveness. Even if they've never heard of ET Let's Talk or care about ETs, they're still part of the solution. And in our single actions and group actions like that, in our aggregate, eventually we're going to have a mighty powerful force of love that's really remaking this planet.
Let me jump in. When the CE5 thing, the close encounter of the fifth kind, I have to admit, wasn't readily knowledgeable of CE5. I'm 1 through 4. Elaborate more, because I'm thinking there's people out there that are not as familiar what close encounter of the fifth kind is. Share with us what that's like.
That's an excellent question, Kevin. Thanks for asking that. The close encounter of the fifth kind means a human-initiated contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. So the 1 through 4 versions of that are passive on the human side. Something has happened, that someone's had a sighting or maybe seen something land, or even if they're a contactee, claim that they've been taken aboard, etc. But all that's been passive. What we're teaching and other networks like ours are teaching now are the close encounters of the fifth kind protocols, which involve, as I mentioned earlier before, a heart-centered combined with a mind-centered approach where we join as human beings in love and circulate love among us and visualize the location where we are sitting in our group. Many of us will send beacons out into space and use our imagination and invite ET and just have the faith that on some energy level we're actually creating something tangible, a group energy, a group cohesion, coherent thought that can be detected by these spiritual civilizations very readily, and it attracts them and makes them want to interact with us. So the CE5 is totally about human beings taking the power back and saying, I want to make contact, and here's a simple way that I can do it by sitting down, calming myself. Don't have to be the world's greatest meditator, but if you have a calm mind, an open heart, and genuine goodwill, if you've removed fear and skepticism from your heart, and just put out that call and then magnified it with other people, if you're lucky enough to have a group, you will get contact in some creative way from these civilizations, because they have a lot of creative ways to do that. It's not just the lights in the sky, as cool as that is, and I'm still thrilled by that, but there are a lot more ways. And so that CE5 then can become a back and forth. There are people who make contact who will ask questions and they get telepathic answers back. So it's not just a one-way thing. The ETs are eager to form some kind of communication and telepathy, and Hollis can maybe speak more to this later, but telepathy is more of a universal and easier way to make connection when language barriers or even having organs that could speak words might otherwise preclude that. Telepathy can take over and wonderful communication can ensue.
At the risk of sounding crass, I have become part of this group, and I do appreciate all the members, and especially the ones in our Louisville area. But my husband seriously does not understand this whole thing. No matter how I describe it, no matter what I say, he still thinks that I'm going out in the middle of the night with a bunch of girls, getting naked and dancing around them in the moonlight. I swear to you right now, he thinks I go out dancing naked around fires on full moon. That's what he thinks this is all about.
Okay, would he be willing to go with you?
To go see that? Probably.
And then it won't be there. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Invite him. Go with you.
You know, if there's no naked dancing around a fire with a bunch of women, then he probably won't end up going. If he finds out that there's none of that, then he'll end up leaving. But
he can leave, but then he'll know you weren't dancing naked around a fire. It's not witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean,
not that was witchcraft either, but whatever.
Well, yeah, that wasn't necessarily the idea. The idea was it's just so bizarre to him. And, you know, coming from a Catholic background, you know, you do see connections with religion in this. And I'm not saying that you have the structure, you have the protocols, you have the people coming together, and it's not worship, it's meditation. And I do think that people get confused about that. Can you maybe describe the differences between what we would consider mainstream religions versus this type of gathering of people, hearts and minds?
Well, I could probably make a bunch of enemies here, so let me get started. In my mind, and I have to say, I was basically raised to be an atheist, so this is an outsider's viewpoint. Most religions are all about control. Mm-hmm. The Christian ones are a lot. I think, and I don't know much about Islam, that probably is. Judaism is less so, because remember, you know, the first thing you're supposed to do is question, right? Although the texts are sacred, but you're supposed to question them. Mm-hmm. Buddhism is less that way. Buddhism is, from what I understand, and I have quite a number of Buddhist friends, it's more a philosophy, again, encouraging you to meditate and question and whatever. So this is probably closest to that. Mm-hmm. But it's, you know, Kosta used the phrase taking your power back a while ago, and this is kind of that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like I have within me the ability to communicate with all sorts of beings, you know, and honestly, I don't know that some of what are like angels, I'm using that word in quotes in the Bible, mm-hmm. Were not ETs.
Right.
Right? Well, yeah. I don't know the difference. I genuinely, I've never met an angel, so I've met some ETs. I've never met an angel. So I don't know that what people were not perceiving was not what we would call ETs, and then because these beings had powers, they elevated them to some sort of godlike status. But that's not my understanding of ETs. Yes, they have abilities and technologies, whatever, that we don't have, but that doesn't mean they're God.
Right, right.
So was that enough of an answer for you?
No, that was very good. So how do your abilities help Kosta and this organization further their goals?
Okay, so a lot of contact does not actually happen in the physical world. Beings show up, and there is evidence, right? There is light in the sky. Things do manifest on Earth sometimes, and people get messages that are telepathic or clairaudient. People do have visions of things, and it's my job to educate people how they can develop their own abilities so that they have more perception in this area, but also for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, I definitely remember standing, kind of a funny story, but we were up at Mount Shasta, and one person had a night vision video camera. And it was set up on a tripod, and there were some very strange things going on another part of Mount Shasta that you could see. It was several miles away. It was in a place where there were no roads. Like we knew everybody knew the mountain well enough to know there are no roads here. And yes, people are occasionally allowed to camp, but these were very bright, large lights, you couldn't see them with your physical eye. But with the night vision camera, these were big lights. I mean, like the size of a headlight, I don't know, 100 yards away or something. They were big.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so everybody was kind of lined up to see, to get a glimpse of the, viewfinder of the camera. And I heard behind me something say, "What are they doing?" And there was nobody behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a telepathic thing, but it was like I was overhearing a conversation. What are they doing? Why is everybody looking at this thing? And I thought back to them, because we don't have the abilities you have. And it went, oh.
So it was a little shocked to know that you couldn't see that with your naked eye.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't think I could have made that up. Like, that would not have occurred to me to make up. I don't have a good enough imagination for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but because my abilities are developed, and because I have had, 30 years of experience using them and knowing what's accurate from what's inaccurate by how I get the information, and that, by the way, is different for everybody. There is no one size fits all, but I can teach people how to access and recognize their own accurate methods of communication. So because I have that, I had a communication that nobody else could have there. Mm-hmm. Or nobody else was having, let's put it that way. Maybe there were people there who could have had the conversation, and I don't know that, but
maybe it was focused towards you.
That could have been too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, they seem to be standing behind me, like, within a couple feet behind me, and that. But when I turned around, there was nobody there that I could physically see or even see clairvoyantly. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, when you talked about your kind of upbringing as far as religion goes, and I'm kind of in your boat, Hollis. I, when it comes to organized religion, I don't care for it. I do think it's a control thing. It's I don't think their intentions are right. And when it comes to God, I believe in a higher power. I guess I'm what you would call a deist. There is something out there, but it's like the watchmaker. It's just something it put us all in motion. But I also think that a lot of us our paths are already established, and we're walking. We're kind of, in my opinion, going through the motions. And I'm gonna throw this out there, and either one of you all can respond. But when it comes to ETs, life outside of this planet, I'm also a firm believer in the ancient astronaut theory. That they've been here. Yeah. They've been here for a long time. They're the ones that got the party started for us. And, with that said, I do see how, quotes from the Bible or the, these, the images or the ideas of, back in the day where, these beings were able to do things that the common folk couldn't, and would in a sense be perceived as gods or angels. But what's your all's take when it comes to the ancient astronaut theory and the fact that they've been here forever, if you will?
I want to add that I'm in agreement with you, Kevin, because the evidence across cultures, across time, in so many ways of what's been left behind that points to visitors from the skies is, in my mind, it's overwhelming. It's something I've just accepted after I read a few books and thought about it, and I've actually seen some artifacts that in my personal presence that could not have been made by humans, and on and on. So I readily accept that thesis, like, oh yeah, the universe is billions of years old. There are trillions upon trillions of stars. how is it possible that nobody has not gone by this way and discovered Earth? And never mind the speed of light as a limitation. I think they've gone transdimensional and gotten over that and are able to traverse great distances. So I really think, they've crossed this way more than one civilization, more than one time for a long time. What we have right now, I believe, is a renewed interest in Earth because since the exploding of the atomic bomb and the atomic age, in Hiroshima, and actually a little before that, but since then we've ratcheted up things in terms of our ability to destroy, and I think that has gotten their attention on many levels, not just military destruction, but environmental destruction, even economic destruction of all kinds. So I suppose if they've been here before and they seeded us, let's say, they might be interested in having their brethren and sistren to survive, the challenges that we have right now. I know I certainly would come back and try to help if I could, if I were an advanced civilization. So I accept that thesis. And what we're trying to do with ETLetsTalk.com and other people in their networks is we're also looking to the future, which is, okay, we believe that they've been here in the past, and but where are we now? I mean, there won't be a future unless we all take some kind of action. And the ET presence is here to help us do that. So we're pointed as well, or even more, to the future. It's like, okay, let's move forward. We know kind of where we've been. We have some ideas, but really, we want Earth to survive. We want to have more of a paradise than what we've had, and here we have helping hands coming to us from the skies. Let's go for that. You got nothing to lose, because if you sit still on your bum and not do anything in great numbers, there are powers on this Earth that will just take it out, because that's what they believe they need to do. So we resist that. Our vision is to look forward, not just in the past. We can honor the past and learn, but it's time to look forward and take some action, and that's what we're offering people with the CE5 experiences.
Can I just describe one of the first experiences that we had as a group?
Please do.
All right. So I have a small group. I think there were 7 at this meeting. For some reason, I had made a contact with someone, and we had discussed. We had sort of an aggressive bit of statements. We both differed on different things, or this one subject. But anyhow, the subject came up of Hitler and the extermination and genocide that he tried to conclude. So this was with me. I had a comment to someone on Facebook privately. So later that evening when we had our meditation, 3 of the girls in the group all had images of Hitler or the Nazi Party in our meditation. And it was very shocking to those people that when they described the event after the meditation, we all sort of made this connection. And I apologized because I said, I have to admit, this morning I had a conversation of this. And it wasn't that I was in the wrong. It was that I shouldn't dwell on the negativity. And the girls, I think they felt it. But we had multiple things that happened. One of the girls asked for a sign if there was any kind of presence or communication, and the sign was make a noise. Well, one of the books fell down from her bookshelf. Another thing that happened was we all sort of had our cell phones turned on mute and silent, and one of the girls was, she had just placed her iPhone in the center of the room, or whatever kind of phone it was, but it was, it activated, and it asked a question after I was discussing a contact that I had an experience, and it asked, it was like Siri asked a question. She said, "I don't understand your comment about such and such," and it was really shocking. And it happened 3 times that night. Siri asked questions based on comments that I had made while the phone had not been touched. And that's a form of communication. How often do you have communications like this that can be observed and experienced by multiple people in groups?
Can I do this? Because there's a couple I want to talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. The first thing, Kosta and I are probably going to have different takes on Siri, but the Hitler thing is actually a classic telepathy. Now, telepathy has 2 parts, sending and receiving. And if apparently you're a really good sender, right?
Well, yeah.
So I would not attribute that at all to, any extraterrestrial phenomena, but rather native human abilities. The thing falling off the shelf could, there are 2 interpretations for that. One of them is that your friend, got what she asked for, which is probably the more likely one. But I will also say that telekinesis is a known human ability. Mm-hmm. And that can happen all kinds of different ways, and it's been known throughout the ages that's what poltergeists were, basically. Mm-hmm. But I think they were human, right? They were human telekinesis, kind of out of control. And Kosta might want to talk about that. I don't know. The Siri thing, well, I'll tell you, Kosta, I don't know what Kosta wants to say about Siri, but I'm going to tell you a different story. Couple years ago, Kosta and I were at a little ET conference down in Roswell, New Mexico. And really, there were about as many speakers as there were audience. It was really, really small. Mm-hmm. But one of the speakers was a guy named Clifford Stone.
Mm-hmm. I know him.
Okay, you know him. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Well, for the people...
He's a remote viewer, correct?
Well, he has all kinds of psychic abilities. But his job in the military was basically going to ET crash sites and doing retrievals and stuff. Okay, but he's retired. He's speaking out, and so I was teaching. But when I teach, one of the things I say is turn off your phone. Mm-hmm. We don't need this. And he had said when he was speaking, which was a couple people before me, that he was waiting for a very important call from the VA medical about a prescription. Okay, so in the middle of my teaching, his cell phone went off. And I, at the time, thought, okay, he had said that this was really important, whatever. Well, I talked to him afterwards, and he actually came up to me and he apologized, and he said, I had turned off my phone. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's something or someone, and we do know that our extraterrestrial friends it's easier for them to work with electronics than a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. Right? They're more fine, I think, than, a pillow, right? Mm-hmm. So something turned on his cell phone in the middle of that. So obviously phones are fairly, easy to influence. Kosta, you have anything you want to say?
Well, I want to underscore what you said and what you were talking about too, Tiffany, and that, my short answer of 3 words of, does this happen often? Electronics responding during ET contact attempts and such. And my answer is 3 words: all the time. Over the years, I've gotten hundreds of reports from all over the world, all different kinds of people in different situations. But you hear some of the same things over and over. And one of the common ones is my phone turned on and it was playing a song that was totally appropriate to some cosmic theme we were just talking about in the group.
Interesting.
That's just one example out of so many, but a really cool kind of example because it's very specific. It's not just, a phone turning on by itself is pretty interesting to begin with, but yet when it comes on with a tune that's strictly apropos to what you're talking about, that just lessens the odds that this really was a very random but strange kind of occurrence. And like I said, that happens over and over to different people. So as Hollis noted, ET's working with electronics is something that comes easier, I guess, for them. For example, car lights will flash on their own, or a radio will come on. People have that happen. And
radar detectors in the middle of nowhere.
Radar detectors in the middle of where there's no source of a signal will start chirping and beeping, and multiple ones will be going off. And sometimes as someone is speaking and says something profound, while it's been silent, a radar detector will go off and make noise as if underscoring what was said. Now, before someone says, okay, that was just random, it happens over and over in that conversation. You'll hear the radar detector just squawk when it seems some emphasis needs to be made as to what the speaker was just saying.
Well, I've had situations where electronics do turn off or turn on that were turned off, like radios, TVs, lights. Things like that happen frequently enough that I notice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if that might be all part of this contact experience.
I think it is, and part of, as Hollis said, some of them might be native human abilities. Like I've had telekinetic things happen around me all the time that just blew my mind. As things flew off shelves in my presence where no one was around, etc. And so I don't.
And I'm a witness. It really happens.
She's a witness. And it happens. It's happened a lot. I've had money, coins literally appear out of thin air in my palm and fall to the ground. Now, if I could control that, I would say, okay, do that again about 15 million times.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, who's your daddy?
Well,
but
that's amazing.
I can't do that. But it happens randomly, and it's happened a lot. I had a point there I was driving towards. Maybe I've forgotten it. But no, what I want to say is I don't want your listeners to get us wrong and think like that famous meme of Mr. Yorgos from the Ancient Alien show that shows his picture, and what it says on it on the poster that someone has obviously photoshopped in was he's saying, well, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So you said Yorgos, but it's Georgios Tsoukalos.
Oh, Yorgos.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know Yorgos.
Okay. Yeah.
I do.
And I believe you. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he didn't say all that, but
no. It's funny because I do think that whenever I see him, I really do think it's not aliens. Oh, but it is aliens. Yeah, I agree.
Well, we're not like that. I mean, if something anomalous happens in my day, I first ask myself, well, I've done this kind of thing before. Could it have been me? I mean, I'm upset. I put out certain energy, and this thing went flying off. A book comes flying off a shelf on its own. I go, that was probably me. It doesn't mean it was E.T. But there's time under the stars when we're actively doing our thing to make contact, when maybe a similar thing will happen. And in that context, I'll go, okay, that was probably E.T. doing some kind of communication. So, we're using our brains here. We're not just drinking Kool-Aid and believing everything is E.T., but we're asking the questions and eliminating the possibilities, the normal, natural stuff that seems to happen. And then when we've eliminated all that and there's no other answer, we look at the context we're in and go, okay, maybe that was E.T. And that leads me to what we do in our CE5 groups. And probably you've done this in your group too, Tiffany. After a while, you get good, especially with a group of people all using their eyes, their brains, their minds in an analytical way. You get good at seeing something going on in the sky, and then going down a checklist and going, okay, I know what a plane looks like. That's not a plane. I know how satellites behave. I know maybe it's an iridium satellite, and those will do certain things or not.
Maybe it's a space station.
Maybe it's a space station. Let me look at my satellite chart and see what its orbit is. And
what's going on with the meteor showers.
Yeah, exactly. Meteor showers, and there are apps there on the phone. So there's no excuse for any of our groups not to have the knowledge of what's going on overhead, because it's as easy as an app you download and you can read and interpret and match it up with the sky. as well as you learn the flight paths. If you're near an airport, many of us are, where the planes are going to go. You know what the engines sound like.
Right.
And it goes on
and
and on.
How high they should be.
Exactly.
And then also airplanes have this red and white flashing light, and helicopters usually have a blue and white flashing light, or there's other things that you should know, and that's part of why I get really frustrated with people who they tease me about this process and about me watching the sky every night, and it's funny because I really do know more of what's in the sky than they probably do. And that just shocks me because they're like, oh my God, a UFO. I'm like, are you insane? That's definitely an airplane, but and then you go over to, there's one. And you're just like, no, it's a meteor shower. You're going to see about 50,000 of them tonight. Or, whatever is going on in the region or the skies at that point of the evening or night, is there it's a learning process. It really is.
And it gives you more credibility with yourself if you apply the process, because at the end of that list, when you've explained or not explained it by any known things, you suddenly get a tingle down the spine, and I still do, and I'm going, oh my God, it's zigzagging around, it's stopping, it's changing color, it's reversing direction. I'm really watching like a craft that's intelligently piloted from some other place in the universe. And it's not just the light, but there's intelligences behind it. And I would like to know those beings, and I'll send them a message and see if I can get more communication. And there starts the process where you've eliminated the known, and now you're kind of venturing into a little bit of the unknown and exploring and meeting. When you mentioned about Region of the Sky, I wanted Hollis to tell her story about the zipper. About things that you recognize and all that, and it's a great story. Go ahead, Hollis.
Oh, okay. A few years ago, we were outside doing our thing. There were probably about 15 of us there, dark of the moon, nice dark night. We're all looking around up in the sky, and my attention was drawn to my extreme right. So actually, I wasn't looking in the circle, but look up in the sky. And as I watched, the old kind of suitcases where they had a zipper that actually went on three sides of the suitcase, and it opened up like a flap, right? So it was like that, only it was in the sky. This thing went zip, zip, zip on three sides, and I could see, and it was almost as if a flap came down, but it didn't. But like I could see behind that space, and there were so many more lights in the sky than there were around it, like that were stars. I couldn't believe it. And I watched in amazement for a couple of seconds, and then it went backwards, zip, 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 and it was the normal sky again. I mean, and it happened so fast, and I was so surprised that I never said anything to anybody until after it happened. Like I couldn't do it fast enough, which was amazing. And then a couple of years later, so maybe within the last 6 months or so, a member of our group was out at night by herself, and she had basically the exact same thing happen to her.
Now, okay, so when you say that, did you see this with your naked eye then?
Yeah. Yes, this was not anything clairvoyant, absolutely just my eyes.
That sounds incredible.
It was.
It was, and I was sitting next to her, and then I heard her getting excited like that, but it like she said, had happened so quickly, she couldn't like point up and say, hey, Kosta, look, I mean, it just happened. And she reacted, and then I said, and I've been around her enough that I know that she had just experienced something, so I was going to let her just go through the fullness of it, and then tell me what happened. Well, like I said, it was over quickly, and she told me, and I was amazed, because this is how I interpreted it, is that their communication with us, rather than, buzzing a radar detector or a tap on the shoulder, I've had those when no one's around, or some other method. What they did for Hollis in that moment was allow her for a brief instant to see them decloaked.
Mm-hmm.
This is my interpretation. And because they were so dense within the small area of space she was looking at, you could kind of extrapolate. If the density was as thick in that small space that she was directly looking at as it was in the rest of the sky, my God, the conclusion I came to was it's a friggin' parking lot up there.
So is it a portal to another dimension, or?
No, okay, I don't know. My suspicion is that actually we can't see most of what is around Earth.
Okay, and so what are you saying maybe around Earth?
Lots and lots and lots of our friends.
Okay.
On craft, yeah.
Okay, all right. Interesting.
Well, and maybe that's the way it has to be for now. I mean, we're also spiritually evolving beings, and a lot of traditions are saying that we humans, as we
may not have the brain capacity right now to understand.
Right. But it's innately there within us. But as we spiritually evolve, it'll be common to be able to see what's up there in the sky like that. For now, maybe not so much. But you know what? What I take away from that experience is, hey, we're not alone. And that's, again, going back to the ET Let's Talk community, one thing I emphasize to people is come and join the community. You may be the only person in your town of 30,000 who can talk about this, but in a virtual sense, you have a lot of comrades who have had these experiences, and you're part of a community, and you can tell your story, and they won't think you're nuts or crazy or resist you, but they'll share their story, and you'll learn something, and then they'll learn something, and you'll feel like you're part of that community. Again, it comes down to you're not alone, and I think that's what one thing the ETs are trying to stress to us is that there's a lot of us here. If you bother to make the contact over time, you'll realize that you're not alone among your friends on Earth. You have community there, and you have community with us too, and that's all a wonderful thing.
So tell us the most amazing experience that you've had with your group. What is the most memorable occasion that you haven't discussed?
I have two, but I'll let Hollis go first.
No, yours are better than mine.
I don't know. Well,
I mean, I've had some amazing experiences, but mine tend to be kind of by myself or experiences that only I have had. So, you go.
We are talking.
How about
we are talking ET here, right?
Yes, ET. Yes. Let's have some. Okay.
Those other amazing experiences belong on another show. Okay.
Later in the evening, past midnight.
Yes, definitely.
Deal.
But okay, thank you, Kevin. I'll give you two of my most. Actually, there's a third. It's like somebody stop me. There are so many great ones. Okay, here's the detail I promised earlier about what really changed my life. Even though I had an interest in UFOs as a kid, growing up in the 60s, the moonshots, Star Trek was born then. I was reading science fiction. I had an interest in astronomy. I was all about outer space. But I left all that really behind to graduate, get a degree, go to work, get married, get divorced, have kids the first time, and then get remarried, and that's Hollis now. So I took that path until 2006, when what I'm about to describe happened. Okay, here I am at Mount Shasta on I think it was a September night, with a group of people and we've been making contact for a couple of nights and had some success, seeing lights in the sky and all that. So things were flowing really well. This particular night, in a clearing at the base of the mountain that was surrounded by a forest, we had just broken ranks and people were going back to their cars to call it a night. It was it had to be like midnight because that's how late we went, or maybe even later sometimes. For some reason, before I could start the trek back to the car, someone tugged on my shoulder and said, "Look over there." And in a group now, about 9 or 10 of us, all totally awake, stone sober and everything, we sat there and watched what for me was about 6 or 7 feet away, we saw a sphere, like slowly materializing, kind of fading in like you would do a special effect in a movie, just really slowly, floating above the forest floor, silent. And like I said, a sphere might have been 6 feet across, maybe even a little bit less. But it was small, and it had distinct shape, and I rubbed my eyes, I looked at the leaves, looked at the shadows, going, okay, could it be that? Playing tricks? But it wasn't, because people around me were going, very quietly. And the thing materialized, and I won't say it became solid. None of us would approach and touch it. I don't think we wanted to do that, because we really didn't know what kind of energy might be there that might be, let's say, inadvertently harmful to humans. But it became opaque enough that it was there, and it was opaque to my eyes. Like I said, it floated there without noise for half an hour while we watched and talked in hushed tones. The woman next to me was standing straight as a board for the whole half hour with her arms outstretched at 90-degree angles, not moving. Now, after a few minutes, that's going to hurt. But
oh, yeah.
But she was not doing any of that. And I was, just a foot away from her, and I go, okay, something's going on with her, and I'm not going to interrupt it, but I'm going to stay here in case there's some kind of distress, and then I'm going to take action, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there really was no distress. And what we found out later, after she kind of came to, she kind of shook and was disoriented, and that's when I asked her, hey, Christina, are you okay? And she said, yeah, well, I had the most amazing experience. What she had told us, and let me back up just for a second. Earlier on, as we were watching this materialized globe, sphere just sitting there, one of the members said to our circle, one of our group members said, I've just had a telepathic communication from one of the inhabitants inside there. They tell me that they're scientists who are visiting the Earth, researching and studying the human energy system. And we said, oh, okay. So flash forward back again to Christine. When she told us the story, she said that one of these scientists approached her telepathically and said, may I merge with you with your energy system and study your energy system? And none of us knew this was going on because this was happening inside her mind. Like I said, all I saw her was standing there, and I found this out later. But she said, yes, you may, on 3 conditions. You leave when I ask you to. And the second condition is I don't want to be like knocked out and totally unaware of my surroundings. I want to be aware enough that I know this is still happening. And number 3, no funny sex stuff. Okay, you leave the hardware alone. Okay.
Yeah.
And the being basically said yes. And so during that half hour, all that was going on, and I didn't know it during that time, but did learn it afterwards. And at the end of that half hour, she basically said, okay, I want you to leave now. And that's when she started kind of like trembling and kind of coming back to and basically being okay. But slowly, right after that, we watched that sphere then dissolve, like doing a fade out, slow Hollywood fade out, till all you saw was just the normal forest again. And I said to myself, I've just had like a really non-threatening encounter with ET. It's not someone else's story. Believe me, I've known plenty of people who've told me dramatic stuff about being under motherships or being buzzed 30 feet above their car by a very physical disc, rotating lights and being silent. More dramatic than what I had experienced there, but this was dramatic enough for me, and it was my story, and nobody could take that away from me, and I think everyone else who was there, too, felt the same way. And I went away thinking, what am I going to do with this? I now know this is real. I don't have to take someone's word. I have my own faculties, and I'm not going to talk myself out of this. You know how you can do that sometimes with yourself. Did I really see that? Okay. I can think of a reason maybe I didn't. No way. This was cut and dried. It was life-changing. Right. And E.T. Let's Talk eventually came out of that. That's my one story. Hollis can interject here if she wants with one of hers, and then I'll continue with the other one because I want to do the heart. Hollis knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Unless you want to do the heart.
Oh, I can do that one. That's fine.
Okay. See? You got your own, honey.
I do. You're right.
You guys are so cute. I'm in love with your love.
Thank you.
Actually,
I'm
it's
married
starting
to my
give
best friend as well,
it's
so
starting to give me a cavity. All that sweetness is giving me a cavity.
Well, I can hear your eyes rolling there, Kevin, even across the distance. I was going to go, I'm boring, Kevin. Oh, no, I can't.
No, I'm just jealous because, I'm single and all alone tonight. So,
Well,
anyway.
Maybe you can find some. No, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Space chick there, Kevin? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might need to come to my group tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Do you want to see Kevin naked? I mean, come on.
Well, there might be some nice single women who are interested in this stuff. Although I have to tell you, in my experience, Tiffany, you're an anomaly. It's usually more men than women.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Kevin, this is your opportunity. Anyway, and while we're on the subject of love, so one night we get up at Mount Shasta, probably 45 of us in a gigantic circle. I mean, so big that, oh gosh, okay, we're sitting in chairs, right? Everybody's got their own little portable, foldable chair. And although you can maybe reach out, with your arm outstretched and touch the chair of the person next to you, you're not right next to the person. Everybody can, there's space to walk between each of the chairs. So this is a big freaking oval. It wasn't even really a circle. It was kind of an oval. Big. We did a meditation, and it was raining during the meditation. The sky was socked in, and I don't mean like a hard rain, but like a little drizzle, which I somehow managed to sleep through. I fell asleep. Whatever. It happened.
True confessions of a CE5 participant.
Okay.
Good Lord.
So, we meditation ends, and we're all kind of lying there looking up at the sky. Well, normally you're scanning the sky to see if there are any odd craft, but it's completely socked in before we start. And when we open our eyes, we look up and we notice there's a hole in the clouds. There's no wind, and nothing has moved anywhere else. There's a complete cloud ceiling, but there is a circle cut in the clouds directly above our group to where you can see stars. Uh-huh. And by the way, we've done this a number of times. It turns out that you can intentionally meditate away clouds. I've done it with a group maybe 3 or 4 times since then. So, although to be fair, this was the thickest cloud ceiling. Like it almost looked like a tube when you looked up, right? You could see the depth of the clouds. And then there were the stars beneath. And as we sat there looking at it, the clouds began to, like these little wisps, began to sort of show up and agglomerate. And eventually there was a heart in the middle, a big heart, filling probably 2/3 of the hole that we had meditated in the clouds. So a heart made of clouds. And I'm looking at that and I'm kind of thinking, okay, maybe I'm making this up. So I kind of say to Kosta, who's sitting on my right, hey, did you see that? That looks like a heart. And as I say that to him, somebody, oh gosh, 1/3 of the way around the oval from me, yells out to the crowd, I just got a message. We love you. And somebody else says, hey, that's a heart. Like this all kind of happens at the same time. So we all saw it. And that, come on, a heart shape does not show up randomly. And it wasn't just me projecting that it was a heart, because obviously one other person said, wow, it's a heart, and another person heard telepathically or clairaudiently, whatever, we love you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't make that up, because with, like we said, 45 people, at the end of all that,
a lot of witnesses.
It's a lot of witnesses of people of all walks of life. We're not drinking all the same Kool-Aid and all that, but we saw that same thing, and it just so happened in the moment, so spontaneously, so organically like that it just took your breath away. I watched that heart form, and I wondered what's going on, as Hollis was describing very well, how the wisps of smoke, it's kind of like dry ice just kind of starting at a concert. When it starts in the beginning, you see it rising, and then it starts getting thicker and flowing and billowing about. That's the way I would describe what I saw happening in that dark, star-studded section of sky, was those wisps coming on, getting thicker, moving about, and then you rub your eyes and you go, am I seeing what I'm seeing? And Hollis is yelling, it's a heart. And by God, that was a heart. It's like, you can't make this stuff up. And then someone yells, it's from them up there. They want to tell us they love us. That's their message. And that's a story, and that can be life-changing for people, because what do you do with that afterwards? I guess if you don't believe in ETs, you can call it a religious or a spiritual experience, but definitely our context there was we're doing ET communication. So whoever formed that, we presumed, was extraterrestrial origin. But yeah, that's a great story. And then it makes you feel great. It's like, you love us, all these monkeys down here beating each other with nuclear clubs. How can you do this?
Yeah.
Believe me, I asked that question.
Well, I do have I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, jump in.
I was going to get Kevin to ask a question. Go ahead, Kevin.
I think you could ask it better.
You sure?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. I don't want to be, I don't want to sound weird or anything, but I know that in the past people have talked about using peyote and different mind-altering drugs in order to sort of create an experience, a meditative state, a type of, create a state of being in order to make contact. Is that something that you've ever experienced, discussed, had any of the people come to you and tell about?
In short, no. We don't encourage it, and it's not because I'm anti this or anti that, because obviously many native traditions across the world have used enhancers, plants and all that. But certainly in our CE5, we just really want it to be organically who we are as humans. We have the capability to have high spiritual experiences and outreaches that are as good or better than what you can get from a vegetable substance. So why not go with this marvelous organism that we call the human body and just let it be in its native mode? Certainly in my circle of CE5 people, if I knew people were using, anything, it could be wine, maybe they're smoking their socks or whatever. I don't like that. I would prefer that we all just come in organically as who we are, and that way we can say definitely
it wasn't
the experience
something else.
I just had, it wasn't something else.
Right.
Let's just strip it down and get it raw and just say that was the raw experience.
Right.
So that's my take on it. Is I don't encourage drug or drink or anything. What you do in the privacy of your own after that is fine. Between consenting adults, whatever, but not during our experiences. And I do find that in the reports I get from all over the world that the people send of their contact, I don't think, and at least overtly, anyone says to me and starts out by saying, yeah, our group was doing, some ayahuasca that night, and this is what we experienced. Don't get any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't mean people aren't doing it, and, they're thousands of miles away, and maybe they had a fantastic experience that was the result of some kind of mind-altering substance, and they're not telling me. Well, there's no way I could check that, but I'm counting basically on the honesty. 99% of people who are in this community, that when they say they saw something, it was with their just raw being, and not without any kind of enhancement. I don't know, Hollis, what's your take on that?
If anybody were doing any sort of consciousness altering substance, how would you know that your experience was externally real?
Right.
So to me, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, there are plenty of good reasons for doing all kinds of mind-altering substances, but this isn't one of them.
Now, how does the pineal gland play into the psychic connection or the ability to connect with other beings?
Well, I'm told that it is the seat of clairvoyance, and I kind of believe that, but I don't have any objective proof. So anything that is going to help your clairvoyance is going to help you, see more, both in your sort of physical life, your normal life, and in terms of contact.
I think I can echo that by reminding Hollis, and she may want to embellish the story. Just not too long ago, she and I were having a wonderful conversation with a mutual friend, and somehow there was a good energetic connection, a heart connection that came from Hollis to that friend, and she remarked out loud to the friend, "I can see your third eye, which is
yeah,
I can see it opening right now."
That was amazing.
Maybe that was the whole story, but
it was, except that it's the only time I have ever seen somebody's third eye open, and I mean, I was seeing it. I mean, it seemed to me that I was seeing it with my physical eyes. Probably not, because Kosta was in the room there and he didn't see it. So I must have seen it clairvoyantly, but it was quite a thing.
Okay, that brings me to another question, and it has to do with people sharing possible hallucinations or people sharing experiences. Like, say that a husband and wife are in bed. Let's just use the wife as the example. So the wife sees something, and the husband jumps up as she's freaking out and is just looking around going, "What the hell are you yelling about?" And the wife is viewing something that's above her, floating, hovering. Mm-hmm. And the husband is like, "There's nothing there." So what happens in situations like that? Because I know that they do happen. Some people see things, some people don't. Is it that one person is more open to an experience and the other person is more closed?
One person's more open.
Yeah, definitely. And we all have different abilities. For example, in a large group of, as Hollis mentioned, 45 people, or whether it's 3 or 4 people, you're going to have a range of abilities. One person may be clairaudient, the next one may be clairvoyant, the third one may not be open in any of those ways, the fourth one may be, full-on clairsentient, let's say. So in a way, you celebrate that. If you're all not going to be judgmental about what the other is seeing and you're not, or feeling and you're not, this really is an experience from goodwill of being with each other, an experience of bringing everyone together. Because if there is some kind of manifestation, the clairaudient person can pipe up and say, "I heard this was said." The clairvoyant can say, "Oh, and I saw this." This is like the cosmic elephant and all the blind see 5 people. One feels the trunk, describes the elephant one way, one feels a tail, one touches a leg. We all can collaborate and bring a more fullness to the experience if we cooperate rather than be in judgment. Now, what you talked about is really important too, about a husband and a wife, because I want to address this dynamic. I hear from my community members a lot, like, "I can't share this with my partner, the dearest person next to me."
Right.
Whether it's a woman about a man or a man about a woman, works both ways. And it's frustrating for me. What do I do? And I don't have an answer except to just stick with your own truth and what you know. And, I can't jump into the middle of relationships and offer advice because I know nothing really about the dynamic. And I don't really want to say something that's going to screw someone up without me having the fullness of a story. So it's tough for me because there have also been marriages that have broken up over ET. Or maybe just psychic abilities in general. And I hear those stories every now and then too. So this is a very crucial thing you bring up, where one person sees something and another one doesn't. Let me tell you a story along those lines about what's happened with Hollis and me, which may or may not explain anything for anyone else or help, but here goes anyway. In 2006, before I went to Mount Shasta on my very first ET expedition of 5 nights, I described it to Hollis, and I was had just discovered it and said, that's only 4.5 hours away from here. It's a drive. I can do this. This is my childhood dream. Maybe I'll see a UFO. Part of me was kind of scared because I'd read all the science fiction horror stories of aliens as a kid. But part of me was excited, like, oh, God, this is too good to pass up. So I told Hollis about it. And she had a wonderful reaction. She said, E.T., UFOs, I believe they're here. I believe they're visiting Earth, but I don't see what they have to do with my daily life. And so I'm not interested enough to come on this week-long adventure with you, but, go with my blessings and have fun. So I left in a good frame of mind, having her support with this, even though she wasn't interested, but still affirmatively supported. So went there. For several nights, I was out with the group, and for the first time in my life, I was seeing the zigzagging lights in the sky, experiencing some ground phenomenon and stuff. And I would call Hollis every morning following the previous night and bend her ear for an hour, using up my 20,000 words, I think, per day, describing what I'd seen the night before very excitedly. I think along by Thursday night, the fourth day, as I was starting my phone call to tell her what had happened the night before, Hollis stopped me and said, wait a minute, before you go on, I've got a story for you. And I'll let Hollis pick up from here what happened for her, because she was there. Okay.
So the night before, I was, reading in bed, and the bedside light, is on a bedside table. It's kind of far away. So I had to sit up and turn out the light, and then kind of turn around so I could scooch down in bed to go to bed. And as I turned out the light and I'm sitting in bed, around the foot of the bed are 4 little white beings. Like probably made, somebody later said, and it's a long story why he said this, but I think he's probably right. I think they were made of light, actually. And there was a possible 5th one behind them, but that one wasn't as material. But these things, there were 4 little beings standing in front of me. They were about 3.5 to 4 feet high, again, around the foot of the bed, looking at me and with just love and curiosity. I mean, they were just so loving. I think that I've never felt that kind of love from a human. You can you can get it from an animal, right? From like a
unconditional.
You're right. Unconditional love is just and just flowing off them. These 4 beings, and they were just looking at me, and I heard in my mind, so telepathically, who are you? And I'm pretty sure they had actually just followed Kosta's thought to me, but. At the time, I mean, thinking back on it, but at the time, I was shocked. Like, so shocked that my mind went completely blank, which my mind never does.
Now, was this your first experience viewing them? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? They just showed up in the bedroom.
Right.
Looking at me, who are you? And I mean, I could not be afraid because of all the love, right? There's clearly nothing wrong here. But, Kosta talks about things changing your reality forever. Well, that kind of did it. So I sat for, I don't know, probably somewhere under a minute, but, towards the end of that. I mean, lots of seconds with my mind completely blank. And then I thought to myself, I should ask them something. Because they're still standing there looking at me.
They're waiting. They're waiting for your interaction.
Right. And the only thing that had occurred to me to ask them was, where are you from? which in retrospect, not the best question, but it was all that occurred to me. Obviously, I wasn't prepared, right? You know? So, and the answer was a word that formed in my mind kind of slowly. And now what I'm going to say about this is it's possible that I had heard this word somewhere, but I absolutely had no conscious memory of it. But it's possible I dredged it up from, you know, the depths of something, right? But what formed in my mind was Arcturus.
Interesting.
And so the next morning when I told Kosta the story, I said, it sounded like Arcturus. Is that a place? And he went, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's
and
a red...
Yeah,
I'd studied astronomy as a kid, and I kind of remembered Arcturus was a red giant or a supergiant star. Forget how many light years away, but I said, yeah, that's a place. It's a star. It's well known. You can see it in the sky, etc. I said, so they told you they're from Arcturus. Very cool, because I knew Hollis was not an astronomer and had never talked about that. She never read science fiction. She was interested in the space program as a kid, but only in the closer terrestrial stuff that was going on with the rockets, the astronauts, the moon, you know, not astronomy in general. So I was suitably impressed. And of course, she tells the story the way you just heard it, and I, who had started out by getting ready to tell her all the cool stuff I had seen, found myself speechless with my jaw hitting the ground. I gathered it up and said, wow, cool. And then Hollis says, okay, this happened to me. Now it's personal. This is the woman that said, I don't see what they have to do in my life. She says, now it's personal. Next year, I'm coming with you, cowboy. And she did. She has. And we've been... I
well,
probably
actually, that was the embellishment.
But she actually said master of my heart. You know, but
nice.
Sounds better.
Yep. I want to jump in and kind of throw a curveball at you guys. You know, we've talked love, good. Now, with every thing associated with love, there's the yin and the yang. There's got to be some hate. With every good, there's got to be some bad or evil. Now,
I don't believe that. I believe that's a human construct. No, that
so
is
you
the
don't
same
think
religion.
you don't think there's for every extreme there's another? You don't think that's the case?
No, actually, I don't. I'm not saying that, you know, bad doesn't exist. It exists, but I don't believe it has to. I think that's a human construct.
I'm gonna challenge you on that. I just think the way the world is in general, half of us are this.
That's the world. That's not a universal thing.
Yeah, but you don't think there's? I mean, let me take it a step further. Let's go paranormal wise, and you got, you know, people who believe in spirits or ghosts, and you know, a lot of the spirits and ghosts are not Casper. They're demonic.
They're not happy.
They're not okay. They're not well. I don't know. In some cases, I don't know if not happies are right because, you know, you hear the stories of some, you know, either some pissed off spirits or just evil spirits. I mean, and I think is the mindset that the ETs out there are strictly, you know, looking out for us and there's not some that are looking to like, I'll screw this place. Let's just set them, you know, down a path.
I think he's trying to get to like the reptilian aspect of
or whatever,
extraterrestrial.
Okay.
So
whatever,
I'll let Kosta answer for himself, but I'll just tell you my answer, which is It's very possible there are negative ones out there, but that's not my experience. And my experience in general on Earth is what you put out comes back to you. So if you put out good energy comes back to you, and you attract the more positive things.
And what I'll say is that for me, it's a continuum. Yeah, good and evil are at opposite ends, but there's everything in between. Shades, none of us as human beings is all great characteristics, or I should say selfless characteristics versus selfish. I prefer to talk about all this in terms of service to self or service to others. You'll see that being bandied about too, and I really like that. Now, having said that, I think that in Earth's past, and maybe even recent past, there were some ET races that were more service to self, and their influence has been felt on the Earth. This is my personal information and knowledge. They are no longer allowed, though, to be active in the way that they were. They've been neutralized, sent away by overpowering forces to the good. And that's what I believe we're in right now, is in communication. As Hollis was saying, we've never experienced anything negative. And again, I'm not saying that hasn't happened in the past, but that is in the past. And what we're doing is looking forward to into the future right now, which is that the ones that I believe that are here now are benevolent races, and they've taken care of the other races that maybe weren't. Let them go evolve somewhere else. It's a huge, huge universe, lots of different places to do your evolution, but Earth is no longer open for business to be pillaged as maybe it has been in the past. So we're working forward right now, we're looking forward and working forward with the benevolence that is here. Now, having said that, you open your eyes and you look around and you still see all the crappy stuff that humans are doing. And the ETs are not here to be the gods and solve our problems. I mean, their request is, get your house in order, human beings, as well. It's up to your spiritual growth to get along with each other. So we're able to do a lot of that if we put our minds to it. And I think more and more people have been waking up by their thousands and by their millions and realizing, the way of fear and separation just doesn't work anymore, and we as humans have to establish goodwill between each other. And I believe, in fact, this is something ET Let's Talk is doing now, is I'm starting my first issue of ET Let's Talk Good News. And what I mean by that is a newsletter that's just not Pollyanna, everything is 100% okay, but mostly it's about, here, let me go on the internet and find places where humans are working together in larger and larger groups who have seen the vision and want a new world, but they're not getting the press. And there's reasons that the corporate media in this country and around the world is suppressing that. So good people like us feel isolated and alone, and we believe that only ourselves and 10 of our friends are sane, and everyone else seems to just be going nuts and destroying things. And that's just not the truth. There's really millions and millions of people doing wonderful things, but they don't make the news because there's reasons that they're not being highlighted. What I want to do in the newsletter is just pick stories to offer to people of something positive that's happening that humans are doing, so that you can wake up in the morning and go, I'm okay with being human, instead of, oh crap, look what everyone is doing. Is it always going to be like this? Is it ever going to get any better? I just want to offer my little piece of places where I've looked that things are getting better, and I hope that it inspires people to start researching, because it's out there on the internet. There's a lot of places to get good news, and I just want to gather some of that and put it in one spot so that people don't have to go bouncing around for hours, but that they can read it in one spot, a couple dozen stories, and then walk away and feel good that there's some hope there in the world, that people are behaving well. So that's my story about, humans are a continuum too. We have to get better or we're going to blow it. And I think we are getting better. But don't go to the corporate media to find that. You won't see it in Hollywood for the most part. You won't see it on the major cable channels. Unfortunately, you have to kind of search it out and talk and find trusted sources of people in the alternative media world who are trying to break away from the corporate control and show the good side. And there is a good side, and we need it.
We do need it. And before I've got one last segment that I like to do as we get towards the end of the show, and we are in the process of pushing 2 hours like I had a good idea we would. But real quick, I'm going to throw this out there. Your thoughts when it comes to Galactic Federation.
Hollis, you want to start?
I prefer to speak from my own experience. And when one of my ET contacts shows up and says that, yes, there's a Galactic Federation, of course it's completely possible, and this is what we do, then I'll be reporting on that. Until then, Kosta, go for it.
Gotcha.
Well, just as human beings are social beings, and we form ourselves into partnerships, tribes, extended families, et cetera, I don't find it at all unusual that if we do believe that there are civilizations out there from many different places, that they wouldn't discover each other and that they wouldn't find what they have in common and want to work together and enhance each other's civilizations and form groupings. That's totally natural. In fact, I think it's weird to think that wouldn't happen because nature tends to group things in general, right? And for good or for bad sometimes. Groups of people can become evil and beat up other groups of people. I'm not saying just because you're a group or a federation, you have to be all good, but the tendency, the instinct is that you come together with others like you for some purpose, right? I do believe they're galactic federations. I have some inner knowledge of them. I believe they're here. Now, what I don't believe is that is good is that people who show up, humans, might show up and say, I am the only spokesperson for the ABC Galactic Federation. Oh boy, there's so much ego in that kind of thing. Yeah, they chose you as one person. What happens if you get knocked off? Well, then there's SOL, right? No, it doesn't work like that. I think they're smarter than that, and that many of us, if we're open and want to contact some of these light alliances that are out there, can become conversant with them. Not that you're going to be the only spokesperson, not that they're going to bet all their marbles on you. I think that'd be silly and stupid. And they're better than that. But yeah, I think they're there, and I think that there are also Earth-light alliances. There's a good friend of mine, Gordon Asher Davidson, who has contacts with the Galactic Light Alliance that's working with an Earth-light alliance. And this involves many beings from many different levels of development, but all of them working towards the common goal of getting human and galactic cooperation to get the Earth through this time of transition into a better state. And so I'm not shy about it. Yes, I do believe in them. I've had some contact. I know other people who have a lot more than that. And it's all to the good. And I don't claim to be their spokesperson. I don't claim to know everything about what's going on. But the little experience I've had has motivated me and inspired me in a spiritual way to keep going with the ET Let's Talk mission. And that's what I'll say. They're here. They're active. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a reason why you do not claim to know everything. And it's the same reason why I do not claim to know everything. Do you know what that is?
We're fallible?
We're males. We're not females.
Wow, that's very appropriate, Kevin.
You can jerk our change by telling us there are women dancing naked somewhere, and we're there.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
enjoying
a good night out.
I agree.
In the backyard, under the night. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you about the male thing. Yeah, I guess you're right. But...
Yeah. Okay. All right. This last part of the show, I like to throw in. this segment is called Round of Shots, which is kind of obviously kind of a tongue-in-cheek take with our name, shooting from the lip, Round of Shots. And it's all it is a quick Q&A type thing where I'm going to throw some questions at you. It's meant for some fun answers, kind of get to know you a little better. And it's not... Yeah, I'm looking at these questions. None of these questions are not per se topic related to what we've discussed tonight. So all I ask is play along. It'll be fun. Okay. They're PG rated, so we'll be good. There'll be the same questions, and I'll go back and forth. I'll start with let's start with Hollis. Hollis, right now, using whatever music media you use, whether it's iPod or whatever, what would be the current song playing?
I have no idea. I don't listen to music all that much.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I could pull up a playlist and go, oh, I really like that one.
No,
sorry,
that's fine. No, it's an honest answer. Kosta,
okay.
Kosta, what would your answer be?
Well, when I'm trying to make my half hour of exercise on the treadmill go fast, I do have my iPhone plugged in, my headphones on, and I still find myself listening to many 70s standards that I love. One of them, I was a Beatles fan, and so, All You Need Is Love is something I play. So I'm giving you an answer of not just one song, but this is my playlist. There's Moody Blues in there. There's some Kansas.
You are 70s.
Usually,
yeah.
Oh, I am 70s, and I can't tell you what's on the chart these days because I don't listen to much contemporary music, and that's not by saying there isn't.
You're
cool
not
stuff
missing
out there.
much. You're really not missing much with today's music.
Oh wow!
I'm shocked that there's no Bollywood, Hollis. No Bollywood.
I really like Bollywood, and I really like reggae.
Yes, me too. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of and classic oldies. Some newer stuff. I mean, tons of stuff. But I honestly, if I'm walking, I'm meditating. If I'm driving, I'm listening to, either a podcast or like news talk radio. And other than that, I'm not really listening to anything at all. So there you go.
Too much going on in your head already.
Basically.
Let's next question. I'll start with Kosta. What was the last picture you took with your phone? Be honest.
Parts of my body don't count?
They can't.
It does count. The last picture.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't do selfies, but a picture would have been Hollis. We were somewhere, and I put picture of you and somebody, and you didn't like it.
Me and my sister.
Okay, it was a picture of Hollis and her sister, kind of like a headshot. Her sister was visiting. They hadn't seen each other in months, and they get along very well. So it was a very heartfelt picture because I felt, as I took it, that both of their personalities shone through it. And, whether or not I technically did a good job, I said, that's the face I like, and that's your face, and it was nice. So kind of boring answer, but there it is.
Oh, mine's even more boring. It was a photograph of a house on my walk today. Every day, almost every day, I walk. I walk a lot, 3 to 7 miles a day. And I try every day. It's kind of like a challenge. It's kind of like in my meditation, I'm looking for usually plants call me and they say, look at me. And so I take pictures and I post those on Facebook every day. So almost every day there's a photo. And today's photo was actually a house I walked by that had some hydrangeas growing in front of it. It was kind of cute. And then I did I don't know if you know what the Waterlog app is, but I did a manipulation of it with Waterlog, and I posted them both for opinions. And by the way, Kosta, you were right. Everybody liked the original better. Almost everybody liked the original better.
I knew it. Hey, an example of a guy being right. Take a picture.
There you go.
There you go. I like that.
And his
more proof.
His wife admitting it. More proof that we were born here and not landed. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. All right, let's see, Hollis. If you could choose one superpower, what would it be?
Well, I already have a few. It's the thing. What I keep hoping for is that my external clairvoyance. Oh, I'm working on my external clairvoyance being better. So
well, how about let's take it up a notch. If you could choose one superpower that would require you wearing a cape.
I'd love to be able just to levitate and fly. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
That's always one of my dreams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every now and then I do it in dreams. But
it's the best feeling in the world, like pushing your hands down and forcing that gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be my superpower. No, you weren't asking me, though.
Chime in anytime, dear. Kosta, your superpower.
Well, I'm wearing more than a cape. There's a suit that goes with it. I just...
A cape and a smile?
And a smile, yeah. And then handcuffs and a perp walk for doing it in the
God knew I love this guy. I'm hanging out with him.
Aren't they great?
Yes.
I want to party with you, cowboy.
Yes, cowboy, baby.
Cowboy. That's my. I got that from Bill Murray in a long ago movie of one of his catch lines. But okay, with a cape, I want to see a little more on the inner planes, and this is something that actually I have some fear of because I think in a past life I may have misused a power like that. But oh God, there's a peeping Tom on the astral plane. Mom, make him go away. So I might have done some of that, but these days, like to serve humanity and the planet in a spiritual way, I would like to be able to contact those other realms with sight. I've had glimpses of that before, and I know that it's possible. And I know people that have external clairvoyance and like Hollis have internal. I'd like to develop a little bit more of that while wearing a cape.
All right. Next one. I'll start with Kosta. Name a guilty pleasure.
Man, having Breyer's double chocolate ice cream. Like a quart of it.
That's a real guilty pleasure, yeah.
And I can down the whole sucker, or maybe half gallon, like in one sitting, and not gain one iota. I've been trying to lose many, many pounds for many, many years, and with limited success. So that would be a guilty pleasure. I love food. I have a Greek background. You can't not love food, but when it starts loving you and refusing to leave, you've got problems. So yeah, eat that half gallon, and I'm good. Still thin.
Hollis, what's yours?
French fries.
Like
McDonald's French fries.
Yeah.
Well, not those really, but lots of other ones.
The ones in France, Hollis. Remember the French?
Yeah. Oh God, but that place isn't there anymore. There used to be a place. This is Kosta. I can't believe you're getting me to tell this, but there was a place on the left bank of Paris that every time I would go there, I would go to this particular place, and they fried the fries, but they had them kind of sitting out, and then when you showed up, they refried them. Oh my God!
Were they extra crispy?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God!
Now, what would you dip your fries in?
I'm fine. I don't really need anything, but if anything, mustard.
Mustard, okay.
Oh.
Okay. What can I tell you? I don't like ketchup. I really don't like ketchup. Doggy there.
Cujo is making his presence.
Well, I've got 3 little miniature Cujos, and my husband has just walked in, so I'm being alerted. This is a very special time of my evening.
Yeah. All right. We're almost done. Let's see.
Time to walk the husband.
Okay.
Yeah, time to walk. Hollis, name your favorite phone app.
Oh, I'm happy to do a commercial for these guys, and I don't even know them. AnyList. It is awesome. You can input recipes. You can add them yourself. You can import them from a whole bunch of different websites and blogs, like almost anything you can think of. And then it generates shopping lists, so you can have all these different shopping lists. You can have a menu plan that will you can assign recipes to certain days and then generate your shopping list from it. It's awesome. I made 3 things tonight before the call off my AnyList app. Love it. It's the best. Oh, and it shares the shopping list with Kosta. So if he's at the grocery store, he can get the right stuff for me and not screw up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like we men are prone to do.
Yeah. You really are a girl, Hollis. Thank you.
I am.
Same question. Kosta, favorite phone app?
I am. Yeah, I'm not an app heavy kind of guy. I've got an iPhone 4 still, and I'm not advertising Apple here, but what are we on 7 already? So you can see that I'm still using it as a phone, even though there are apps on these little circles with pictures. Are those the apps? Is that what we're talking about? But every now and then I'll bring up AnyList and see what my wife wants me to shop for.
No.
Oh, God, that was such a lame answer. That was so lame. You'll never have me on your show.
Well, I had to install it on his phone for him.
Hey, wait, I have 40 years in software experience. Excuse me?
Yeah, but you just didn't want to do it.
You're right.
Okay.
Anyway.
No.
Wait. I need to interject, Kevin. Mine is a farting app.
Okay, where are you going to take that, Tiffany?
My kids love it, and they use it to shock people that walk by. It is the best thing since sliced bread, the fart app.
Where do you use it is what we want to know. Yeah, kids are kids. Where does Tiffany
I love it. Are you kidding me? I take it everywhere. I love it. It's fabulous. My brothers get a kick. My dad gets a kick. Everybody gets a kick out of a fart. So
elevators?
You should make a ringtone
elevators. Oh yeah. Oh, that would be really, really good.
Take it where? Do what?
A ringtone. A fart ringtone.
Oh, that's my husband. Oh, the long one is my mom. The short little staccato ones are my husband.
Those are the popcorn parts.
Yes. Okay.
Unreal. All right, we're down to our last question. Let's see. Let's start with Kosta. Kosta, if you had access to a time machine and could go anywhere in the past, anywhere, including the dinosaurs or wherever, anywhere in the past, where would you go?
You nailed it. I swear you were reading my mind. We must really be male bonding here. Dinosaurs.
Really?
I had a fascination with those since I was a kid. Yeah, I would, from a safe place. I don't really want to be up close and personal with those, but the T-Rexes, the Velociraptors, the Brontosauruses fascinated me since a kid, and that's just earthbound. Now, there's places I want to go in the universe, but the dinosaur age would have been terrifying. Love it.
Cool. Same question to you, Hollis. Your time machine. Where would you go?
I want to hang out with Jesus. I want to hang out with Jesus.
Really?
Really?
I'm assuming before his crucifixion?
Well, or maybe after, because, there is a whole school of thought that he didn't actually die. That he went instead to the south of France. So I'm okay with before or after.
Mm. The guy
he was looking for those French fries.
He's still a
I'm
French
sorry?
fry.
I think south of France, he was looking for those French fries.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Now, here's the thing. I do a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday show. Tiffany gets me all to herself Fridays. I do a 2 different shows during the week as well. Now, my co-host on Monday nights is a full-blown atheist, and I've asked these types of questions, round-of-the-shot questions to our guests, and he's chimed in with his time machine thing is that he would go back during the crucifixion time, but he would be packing artillery, and he would mow down all those Romans and then tell Jesus, I just saved you now.
Oh, I like that. Alternate history. Let's start an alternate timeline. Works for me.
Works for me too. So
instead of Jesus saves, it would be saves Jesus.
Save Jesus.
There you go.
That's what he did.
Yeah. So that would kind of alter.
You know how to find somebody else to make up stories about.
It would have been right. Exactly. And here we are. Hollis, did you tell us what would you do?
Jesus. I just want to hang out.
Oh, you're the one. You said Jesus. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Have I asked you that, Tiffany? What would you do with your time machine?
Well, I do time travel often, and my time travel.
No, I'm talking about real time machine travel.
Oh, I think I would go back to ancient Greece and just hang out with like Zeus and Aphrodite. I think they would be able to party.
Who you want is Dionysus then,
Oh, yeah, I love Dionysus.
With all those Adonis guys wearing fig leaves.
Love that, I do. But I lived on Crete, and I lived near the mountain where Zeus was supposedly kept. So I don't know. As an infant, I really think that that's where I would be.
Interesting.
And you didn't answer the question. Wait, you didn't answer the question.
Which
Kevin.
question are we talking about?
If you had a time machine, where would you go?
Oh. I think it would be to events that, like the Holocaust, something I could do to change the course of people suffering and all these lives. But I wouldn't go by myself. I would pack, all these people and artillery and somehow, some way.
Super soldiers.
Yeah, try to just somehow, some way save people. That's one way. But if I want to get mushy, it would probably be to go and spend a few more days with my grandparents, because I didn't get to meet them, or I got to meet them, but I just didn't get to hang out with them much because they were a little older. And, I think it would have been selfish of me to not be able to share my nonsense with, my grandparents. So
that's so selfless of you.
Yeah. But in this theme of love, and tonight's show has been a theme of love. It's in a sense, I think one of the things we've kind of talked about is whether it's us people who are here are the people we cross paths with every day. If we could just take the time out to care a little more, and try to spread good karma around, this world would be in such a better place. And I do have concerns when it comes to the political scene, people who are potentially are going to be our leaders of the Free 52. There's going to be some drama, I think, sooner than later that, might change the way we all see the world. And I'm hoping that if there is indeed a power outside of the United States or the world, that these people are here, that they do help us through, because I do think there's, in the near future, it's going to get rough more than it will get better, but
we do have the potential to be another benevolent creature out, and be a part of something that's more than ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I know we're being invited to do that, so we have the right of first refusal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll throw this one last question out. In our lifetime, is it possible that the answer to alien life form be 100% answered within the next, say, 20 years?
Of course.
Of course. And I think it already has been.
Well,
I talked. You mean full disclosure worldwide?
The true media acknowledges it. The cynics,
it's thrown in their face.
It's thrown in their face, and then all these religions that it will impact will have to come up with Plan B on how they go about trying to continue their mind control over their religion, their flock. So.
Well, actually, Danny Sheehan, and Kosta will tell you more about him in a minute, who is connected to the Vatican, says that basically the Vatican is interested in the whole ET thing because, and I'm probably misquoting Danny, they screwed up on the whole Copernicus thing, and they want to get out in front of this one.
Yeah, we are watching a huge revelation on their part where you don't even have to be Catholic, but to appreciate the fact that 1.2 billion people are, and that because of the worldwide reach of that particular church, the fact that they're entertaining the thoughts of ET coming here and how humanity is going to interact with them is a huge thing. Yeah, they are trying to get out there ahead of the curveball, lest they be on the wrong side of history. But I think, in essence, that's a good thing. Will we see full ETs walking and convincing every skeptic on the ground in our lifetimes? Honestly, I think we will. I plan to live a long time, and I certainly think that I tell my kids and their generation, they're millennials, that they're going to go to the stars. And I firmly believe that. ET will be here. We're going to make it, and the cosmic civilization that we can become is going to happen.
Well,
I'm an optimist while still being a realist.
There you go. Man, Tiffany, we thought we were going to go 2 hours with this show. We've gone 2 and then some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's even more that I still want to ask. So
I was going to say,
there's probably time to call it a night.
No. I would love to discuss with you further at some point.
Okay.
I think that we could still go and discuss more.
This is definitely, I think the conversation says that I have to change the Facebook post to say part 1 of 2.
Okay, cool.
That's cool. It is. We'll come back if you'll have us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you all located? Are you in California?
We are.
Yeah,
so you're 3 hours behind us. So.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
If we were on the East Coast, I would already have been asleep long ago.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay. That's past my bedtime.
Yeah.
Okay, Meemaw. We're glad you're on the West Coast. You know let me see who's still up. Queen Colleen is still up.
Yeah.
It's an inside joke, but Tiffany.
Yeah.
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 Still here.
All right, Tiffany. I'll let you sign us out. Give the shout outs to the guys, and we'll shut it down. And Kosta and Hollis, the pleasure was mine tonight. I was enlightened on a lot of things. And there's a couple times I think you actually gave me the warm fuzzies. You all were talking so much love that it was like seriously, I'm being serious. I could feel it. And Yeah,
Aww.
I mean, no, you got to choose love over hate always, and so.
Well, let's get you all to give us some contact information for our listeners to be able to read further and contact you as they would like.
Okay. Mine is very simple. The website is etletstalk.com. That's spelled as it sounds, ETLETSTALK. People can become a free member there, learn how to make contact, join the worldwide community of 11,000 people, participate in our monthly meditations, free webinars with Danny Sheehan and Contact with Kosta, Goodwill newsletter, members pages. We have a community, etletstalk.com is how to find us.
And Hollis, how about you, hon?
My website is www.888-4-Hollis, HOLLIS.com, which surprisingly is also my toll-free number.
Great. So we can contact you through either email, internet or phone. Okay, good.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys tonight. I'm so thankful that we were actually able to make this work, and it's just been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
It was our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Well, you all have a
Good
wonderful evening. It's been great.
Same to you. Good light.
Yes.
Night.
Good light, love light.
Yeah.
Lots of love. Yeah.
Same back to you. Back at you.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Till next time.
At no time were any animals or people hurt during this presentation of Shooting from the Lip.